Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Ananda Kori Vaishnava Vrinda ki Srimad Bhagavatam ki Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So we are reading from Canto 7, Chapter 5, Text 53. And the verse is not on the board, so I will just read it myself. Yatatrivagam guru pi atmane upasiksitam nasaru minechakshiksham dvandvaramopavanitam yata as Trivagam, the three processes, religion, economic development, and sense gratification. Guru be by the teachers, Atmane, unto himself, Prahlad Maharaj, Upashikshitam, instructed, not Saru, really good, Mene, he considered, Takshiksham, the education in that, the Vandva Arama, by persons taking pleasure in duality, in material enmity and friendship. Upavanitam, which is prescribed. Translation and purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Ki. Translation. The teacher Sanda and Amaka instructed Prahlad Maharaj in three kinds of material advancement called religion, economic development, and sense gratification. Prahlad, however, being situated above such instructions, did not like them, for such instructions are based on the duality of worldly affairs, which involve one in a materialistic way of life, marked by birth, death, old age, and disease. Purport. The entire world is interested in the materialistic way of life. Indeed, practically 99.9% of the people in the three worlds are uninterested in liberation or spiritual education. Only the devotees of the Lord, headed by such great personalities as Prahlad Maharaj and Narada Muni, are interested in the real education of spiritual life. One cannot understand the principles of religion while staying on the material platform. Therefore, one must follow these great personalities as stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.3.20. Svayambho Narada Shambhu Kumara Kapilo Manu Prahlado Janako Bhishmo Palyevaya Sakyevayam. One must follow in the footsteps of such great personalities as Lord Brahma, Narada, Lord Shiva, Kapila, Manu, the Kumaras, Prahlad Maharaj, Bhishma, Janaka, Bali Maharaj, Shukadev Goswami, and Yamaraj. Those interested in spiritual life should follow Prahlad Maharaj in rejecting the education of religion, economic development, and sense gratification. One should be interested in spiritual education. Therefore, the Krishna consciousness movement is spreading all over the world, following the footsteps of Prahlad Maharaj, who did not like any of the materialistic education he received from his teachers. Om Jnanati Mirandasya Jnanam Janashalakaya Chaksurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sharitatanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupakatamayam Dadati Svapatantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisabhanu Sutedevi Prananami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Ivacha Pajatanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, the verse again. Yatatrivagam guru pi atmane upashikshitam nasadu mene chakshiksham dvandvaram upavanitam The teachers Sanda and Amarka instructed Prahlad Maharaj in the three kinds of material advancement called religion, economic development and sense gratification. Prahlad, however, being situated above such instructions, did not like them, for such instructions are based on the duality of worldly affairs, which involve one in a materialistic way of life marked by birth, death, old age and disease. So, we are continuing reading about Prahlad Maharaj, who is being taught by his materialistic teachers Sanda and Amarka, which are trying to educate him to become a good and demoniac king, a real Grihamedi, a real enjoyer of material life. And Prahlad Maharaj is nicely set up for that, because he is supposed to be the future king of the universe, inheriting the whole thing from his father, the big demon Hiranyakashipu. But Prahlad Maharaj, being a very exalted disciple of Narada Muni, he did not like the instructions that he received from his teachers. The instructions of mundane religion, economic development and sense gratification seemed useless to Prahlad Maharaj, because they involve one, as it is stated here, in the duality of worldly affairs, which involve one in a materialistic way of life marked by birth, death, old age, and disease. So, considering the situation we are in, that this body will ultimately die and perish, it is quite obvious that materialistic enjoyment, it is futile, because you can enjoy so and so much, but you will grow old, sick and die, and then what was the use of your temporary enjoyment? So materialists, they don't see this, they simply don't have the capacity to understand it. But reading the Vedic scriptures, we hear again and again, every single page of Bhagavatam is telling us life is temporary, we are going to die, and that is problematic, because we are eternal spirit soul, we don't want to die, So naturally, we try to push the idea away. The youth of today, they say YOLO, you only live once, and then they do something stupid. But they don't really consider that they are having fun at the moment. For example, I saw a couple of guys the other day, it was the 1st of May, and they had like a scooter which they built a huge sound system on, and then they were riding like 6 guys drunk on the scooter playing their sound system, and they were laughing and having so much fun. But it's just like Prabhupada says, it's just like croaking toads who are just calling the snake of death very near. And it's such a shame to see people live in that consciousness, because now they attain the human platform of life and they waste it in such a way, and they will go down, 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 like all the way down. Like people in previous ages might have had some materialistic inclination, but the level of degradation in this modern day and age is just going so rapidly fast down. It's amazingly hellish. So Srila Prabhupada, he very much criticized the materialistic education and the Western society. He said that the fault of the Western society is that they have no concept of transcendence. They don't consider immortality. So when we don't consider immortality and we don't take that into consideration, that there might be a life in the hereafter, then the aim of life naturally becomes sense gratification. Just beg, borrow, or steal, get ye. Like, just get yours. Like, no matter the cost. Because anyway, life is pointless. There is no ultimate goal of life. And since there is no life after, they don't believe in reincarnation or karma. So they think, I can do whatever I want. As long as I don't get caught, there are no consequences. So basically the moral principle of today is do whatever suits you, but be careful, because you might end up in trouble because some others might have like contrary interests. For example, one boy may think, hey, that's a very nice girl, and I will go and have sex with her, but the girl might not like that. So the only thing basically stopping the boy is the potential danger that he might get imprisoned or something like that. If there was no consequence like that, then he would go ahead and do it. Because that is what we are taught in this materialistic society. And that's actually satanic. That's Satanism. It doesn't mean that you worship Satan necessarily, but it means that you have no concept of morality. Just do whatever you like, just don't get in trouble by doing it. So, the people in charge of society today, they gear the education and they gear the whole thing like through television and like propaganda, through the internet, through the television. Everything is just geared towards heavy amounts of sense gratification. It's incredible. I saw like a picture the other day. I don't have like a very scientific reference for this, but this was just like a picture with a little text to it. And it said, in this modernized Western world, a child at the age of 8 years has, by that time, eaten more sugar than people a few hundred years back they were eating at a whole life. That's amazing. Like, people used to live for like 80, 90, 100 years here in like, okay, we're not talking so far back, but in Kali Yuga, recorded time. And like, it was not that like they were in a completely suffering condition. Of course, material world means suffering condition, but like they were just like living a simple life on the land and just like doing the dharma, artha and karma, and they were getting some sugar probably. But today, 8 years old, these little kids, they barely even started living, and already they consume much more sugar than a normal grown-up person a few generations ago. And that's just sugar. If we also consider like alcohol and smoking and illicit sex. Yesterday it was, I was at Christianshavn and I saw many things. It was like display of Kali Yuga. They have the Christians, they are at this time of the year, they have their initiation ceremonies. They have confirmation. And that is very like weird to see how these like young children, like especially the girls, for like a religious initiation, they dress up like complete prostitutes. And there was one girl, she was getting picked up in a limousine. And it's just like, that's the concept of religion. So I found it a little weird that Srila Prabhupada, here in this purport, he says, those interested in spiritual life should follow Prahlad Maharaj in rejecting the education of religion. But considering what is the education of religion that we see today, yeah, we should reject that. We should get to a higher platform, we should get to Bhagavad Dharma, where we don't do some religious activity in order to get some benefit. God, please give me my daily bread so I can enjoy more and forgive me my sins. But we should actually understand that our happiness is interlinked with our duty to serve the Supreme Lord. Savai pumsam paro damo yato bhaktiya doksaye ahaitukya pratiyataya yatma supratitati. The supreme occupation for all of humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted in order to completely satisfy the self. So we should not do religion for material purposes, but we should do it for the satisfaction of the Lord. And since Krishna consciousness is a process of being the secondary enjoyer, of course we want to enjoy, because our spiritual nature, how is this? Our spiritual nature is to be enjoying, is to enjoy life. Srila Prabhupada, he was asked, what is the purpose of life? And he said, to enjoy. But Krishna consciousness is a process of being the secondary enjoyer. So that means Krishna, he enjoys, and then when Krishna, he is happy, then we become very happy. And that is quite easy to see when we experiment a little with devotional service. How we can be in a situation where the body is suffering, but still we're very happy if we are engaged nicely in devotional service. So these modern people, they are very much controlled because the government, they put out so much propaganda for material sense gratification, and so they become very easy to control. So, but we see spiritualists, they are not so easy to control. Even though the sense objects are there, they don't act on it because they are on a higher platform with spiritual intelligence. A very nice example of that is Yudhishthira Maharaj, who, I don't know where this is, but I heard the story narrated from Manidhara. Yudhishthira Maharaj, he is asked by Krishna once. Krishna, he says, Yudhishthira Maharaj, you have such a beautiful mother. Your mother got the benediction that she will always look just like a young girl. And you are a grown-up man, and your mother is so beautiful. Are you sometimes not attracted to your mother? And Yudhishthira Maharaj, he says very honestly, because he is the son of Dharmaraj, so he is a very righteous person. He always speaks the truth. So he says, yes, I am attracted to my mother. And then Krishna, he goes, oh, so what do you do about it? And Yudhishthira Maharaj, the personification of truth, he says, nothing. So in that way, a spiritualist can be confronted with the objects of the senses, but because there are higher intelligence and there are some morality, and we know what to do and what not to do, then even though the sense objects are there, we can decline them. So in that way, like Janardhan, he mentioned a few days ago, he talked about this, how spiritual people, religious people, they cannot be controlled. The Amish are doing their own thing, the Muslims are doing their own thing, the Jehovah's are doing their own thing, but the atheists, they are quite easy to control. So, yeah, so that's why, that's the plot of the demons, to make the whole world atheist, so they can very easily control society in order to get their personal sense gratification. So, spiritualists like Prahlad Maharaj reject the teachings of the materialist. And not only do they reject them, but it's like day and night. Yanisha sava bhutanam tasamyagati samyami ashamyagrati bhutani sanisha pasyato mune. What is night for all beings is time of awakening for the self-controlled, and the time of awakening for all beings are night for the introspective sage. So when the materialists, they teach, you should become very materially comfortable, and you should engage in sense gratification, and you should do this, and you should do that, and you should vote for this politician, and get a house like that, and pay your taxes, and everything like that. And you certainly should not become religious, because they even say that religion is the root of all evil. They actually, like, they put that into a phrase in society. You hear it so often. No, I don't like religion, because religion is the cause of all war in the world. Which is also completely nonsense, because just take the Second World War, like we are talking, like, what do you call this? Eugenics and like racial warfare and stuff like that. And that's exactly based on Darwin's theory, survival of the fittest, and different races are in constant competition. So that's like, yeah. So we just see that what they put out there, materialistic propaganda, is simply not true if you just like analyze it for a bit. So not only do the spiritualist reject the teachings of the materialist, but they engage in exact counter activities in order to establish the supremacy of the Lord and engage all living beings in His service. So that is actually our duty as followers of this Bhagavad Dharma. We are told here we should follow the path chalked out by the Mahajanas. Svayambhu Narada Shambhu Kumara Kabilomane Pralado Janako Bhishmo Alya Vaidya Vayam. So Srila Prabhupada writes, one must follow in the footsteps of such great personalities as Lord Brahma, and we can just see Brahma is preaching, Narada is preaching, Shiva is preaching, Kapila is preaching, Manu is preaching, Kumaras are preaching, Prahlad is preaching, Bhishma is preaching, Janaka is preaching, everyone is preaching. So we should follow in the footsteps of such great personalities. That means that we should preach Krishna consciousness. And there's a very nice example of one of these Mahajanas, Vyasadeva. Oh, actually Vyasadeva is not mentioned here. But Vyasadeva, who is the compiler of Srimad Bhagavatam, he was in this position that he compiled all the Vedic literatures and made it available to the people of Kali Yuga, because he foresaw the terrible condition that we are in right now, where we have short lifetime, where we have low memory and we lose strength and this, that and the other thing. We have so many problems here. So Vyasadeva, he compiled the Vedic literature. But after compiling so much literature, Vyasadeva, he felt a dissatisfaction in his heart. And Vyasadeva, he knew that something is wrong here, because I am doing so much seva, I'm doing so much service for humanity. Why am I still feeling dissatisfaction? So he had this clue. Maybe it's because I didn't sufficiently describe the path of devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Shortly after, his spiritual master Narada Muni, he arrived at the scene, and he disclosed it, that that was actually the fact. You have used so much energy and so much time to talk about karma and jnana and so many other things which are in the Vedas, and this will just confuse the people. So Narada Muni instructed him to describe those words, or like to write down those words, which are describing the name, fame, form, qualities, pastimes of the Supreme Lord, because those narrations, they are meant to bring about a revolution in the heart of this world's misdirected living entities. So if we ever feel some dissatisfaction in our heart, we are not completely happy and satisfied, maybe that is because we are not sufficiently glorifying the Supreme Lord and sharing this wonderful knowledge with others. It's stated in the 10th canto, there's a very, very nice analogy. When Devaki, she is pregnant, when she is carrying sweet Lord Krishna in her womb, then she is very effulgent, she is bright like the sun, bright like anything. But she was within the walls of Kamsa's palace. So it's described that that was like keeping a light in a jug where no one can see it. In the same way as if you have knowledge which you keep just for yourself, that is just like that. That is like a light in a jug. Because you have the knowledge, but if you don't give it to others, then what's the use of your knowledge?